Good evening, beloved to Christ. Christ is risen. And even though Christ is risen, this is a time of great frustration for Christians and for everyone else as well. And in particular, we are frustrated with our leaders, with our civil authorities, with our bishops, with the people who have money and the people who have power. I've heard on several occasions very recently, and from people of quite diverse political viewpoints, that the ruling class in the United States is so out of touch with the needs of the common man. And so we have people deciding what businesses can be open and closed and how they should be open and closed. And the people oftentimes making these decisions and who should get remunerated for these closures and how they get remunerated. The people making these decisions, though, are so out of touch with the common person. And as I hear all of these things, of course, I relate to many of them. I'm a man with some political opinions myself. You might notice as I preach and as I teach, I try to really keep my own perspectives to myself because I wear a collar and the hat, and I represent something bigger than me, and that's not worth it to me to lose any of you over misplaced tribalism. But more to the point, I think as a person of faith, there's a phrase that has a great deal of meaning that puts these things into place. And we sing it most Sundays at St. Michael, and most churches of the Slavic tradition sing them on Sundays as well, but they're not unknown to most Greek Rite Christians, Orthodox Christians as well. And certainly to anyone who has read through the book of Psalms. Psalm 145 or 146 in most Western Bibles, we hear this phrase, "Put not your trust in princes, in sons of men in whom there is no salvation." And we usually sing it with that beautiful Russian Obokod melody, "Put not your trust in princes, in sons of men in whom there is no salvation." And that is something we really ought to remember. The princes, the rulers of this world, though they have power for this time, and though indeed they ought to use their resources and their authority justly, and we have every right to expect them to do so, we can't trust them, and we can't expect that they will deliver us or anyone. The poor and the needy, the downtrodden and the heartbroken, those people are there for us to minister to. And so likewise, when we have the means and the resolve, we ought to lift ourselves up inasmuch as we can, and to make the most of the life that God has given us. We can't trust in our politicians, and even to some degree we can't trust in our priests and our bishops to fix all of the problems that perhaps they can or should fix. But what we can do is trust in the one person in whom there is salvation, the person who never lets us down, who never, ever lets us down. And thanks be that we have a God who sent a Son who can do that for us. Thanks be to our Lord Jesus Christ, in whom there is salvation. Christ is risen.